Okay, it is 7:01 on the 13th of February. We will start our Town of Frederick board meeting. Jason, would you mind taking the roll for us tonight, please?
Sure. Trustee Mahan?
Here.
Trustee Brown? Trustee DeValdi?
Here.
Mayor Kreitz?
Here.
Trustee Lamock?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Here.
Trustee Padilla?
Here.
Mayor Yovanovitch for quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's stand and join each other for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to our agenda or any special presentations this evening?
No changes, Mayor.
We'll move swiftly into public comment. This portion of our agenda is provided to allow members of our audience to provide comments to the town board. Please sign in and I will call you. If your comments or concerns require an action, that item or items will be placed on a later agenda. Please limit the time of your comments to 3 minutes or no comments whatsoever. That's great. Thank you. All right, Brian, we have staff reports this evening, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, I want to bring a couple of things to your attention in regards to the calendar. We do have next week our mini retreat. We'll plan on starting at 6 o'clock. The two key items on that are going to be the comp plan update and getting some feedback from the board in regards to development standards. And then we'll also, with remaining time, be talking about the general fund unrestricted fund balance. The other piece in March, I know Trustee Lamock and Trustee Mayhem attended the Carbon Valley Parks and Rec District meeting that was last week in partnership with Firestone and Dacono. I forwarded an email if you're interested in serving on their committee as they're working to potentially look at an initiative and an ask to the community about funding and additional rec centers. Let me know. I can make sure that you're included as part of that committee. I think it's important for our voice to be at the table. We will have Colby's going to be a part of that, and then he's going to talk to the Prost committee tomorrow night about being engaged and getting involved on that committee as well. So in a nutshell, I don't know that in general, their general ask is to look at going to the ballot in November for a fairly sizable increase in property tax. And what that would look at is some type of benefit to all three communities. And I will work on getting that presentation from the rec district and I'll send it over to you guys so you can review it. So let me know if you have any questions on that. In March, we will have the March 5th study session. We'll be talking about events as well as Frederick Recreation Area concept plans. So we can also talk about in that meeting study session as well from Colby. He plans on giving more of an update about the meeting and what our relationship or what does that look like as well, and getting some feedback.
On the March 5th meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And with that, I'll take any questions.
Brian, are you going to have Dean come in and do that presentation, or are you just going to,
Mayor and
brief?
Trustee Lamock, we can certainly do that if that's the wish of the board. Absolutely can do that, or I can also get a copy of it and just send it to the board. And okay, gotcha.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, if that's the initial request from the rec district, they have a lot more work to do to, enjoy the town of Frederick's comments at this point. So I would ask that they go do that first.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Great. Was that a nice way of saying knock it off? Okay.
Better than what I would have said.
Great. Was that the summary or the brief of the meeting? Was that it was to kind of tell the three communities what their plan was? It wasn't a feedback gathering opportunity to hear from their elected officials on what we'd recommend?
Yeah, there was an opportunity for question and answering at the end of the meeting, and certainly Firestone was well represented, as well as Frederick, as well as Dacono with their elected officials. I don't know. I think there's different opinions. I do think they're very they've got a plan and they're very interested in moving that plan forward. And I think there was a number of comments made about you need to get more feedback from the community. So I think that's important. I hopefully that's something that they consider and focus on in moving forward. But yeah,
They seemed pretty set in my mind. It seemed like they were hoping for,
Support.
yeah, for the feedback that they wanted to hear. It
Right.
seemed like they're pretty committed to.
They've got a timeline in it, and they're sticking to it, and they want to go move forward with it. And like Trustee Mahan said, it's a healthy chunk of money that they're asking for. And I don't think they're really looking at the big picture of what the community's needs are versus the town's needs versus the rec district's needs. It's just focused on that rec district.
Do you think that I appreciate that Kobe was there as well, and I know that he and the Prost team are working on lots of different master plans. Do you feel like what was shared at the rec district meeting with stakeholders hinders our plans for any of those recreation improvements that we're working on right now?
yeah, I think that's a great point. I do think it's something that we should be concerned about and actively engaged in. In terms of if this ballot measure doesn't pass, I think it absolutely could have impacts on Frederick into the future. Um, it wasn't for Frederick's particular piece. They're certainly interested in ball fields, but they didn't really call that out specifically. Frederick's amenity would really be adding to the current rec center another gym and opening up the workout area. So um, I think that's still yet to be determined of how that would help us with our areas where we really want to, develop Frederick Recreation Area and other areas that wasn't mentioned. So
Okay, thank you.
Brian, do you think that they really considered the tax implications, impacts that had come out? That have come out with the increase. What we're hearing right now is, wait a minute, where's all this money going to, and what's going to happen with the taxes?
yeah, I think that's where our voice can be strong because we tried to mention that as a comment that, hey, Frederick already went down this path regarding sales tax and we got pretty good feedback and we pivoted and changed. And I think from their perspective, they had data and information that was helpful that on a $500,000 house, you're only looking at about a $350 increase per year. And so it's more of that term like only. So, but when you break that down to the community, there's a lot everything's increasing and all districts, everything is increasing.
Okay.
So there were comments that were pretty strong that this isn't palatable to us, and it's the second year in a row. There were comments as well as why don't you consider looking at phasing it or only taking a small chunk and see if that's successful and then look into the future, maybe 3 or 4 years. But voters memories are they remember. And so I think that was a general concern that was brought up by multiple questions to the rec district. Yeah.
It's disappointing, but I appreciate that we can continue to be involved and share, our community. We're very lucky in Frederick that Frederickans tell us exactly what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. So pass along, any feedback we get from the comp plan and, our transportation infrastructure comments that we got. Like, we should be passing those along because those voices are very strong, and it would be great if the rec district would listen to those. Thank you. Would you mind also just giving a brief update on the town clerk recruitment?
Yes, thank you. We've reposted it, so we went through a first round. We did those interviews. I think in December, we interviewed 8, got it down to I think 4, and brought 4 in for a second round of interviews. Had a couple of different panels. I know Trustee Lamock and Mayor Pro Tem March were part of it, and Mayor. just not, we didn't feel like there were good fits, the feedback that we got from the committees and the panels involved. So we reposted it. We screened through a number of applications. We're really looking at it more just broad. We need somebody with good leadership and a good fit within the organization and collaborative. And so we have got that narrowed down, and we've got interviews tentatively scheduled 2 weeks from now, or in 2 weeks, that we'll move that through pretty quick. So my hope is that we got a really good pool of applicants. Again, we're looking at it differently, more from a culture fit and cross skills in other industries that are applicable to that job, and how you can learn and grow within that. So we're excited. We've got I think there's some really exciting candidates in there, and we'll be doing those interviews 2 weeks from now, and we're going to probably move it fairly quick. So my hope is to have somebody on board potentially by the end of March at the latest.
I wrote down end of March in pen, so hold you accountable. No pressure.
Yeah.
Thank you for the updates. Anything else for Brian? All right, we'll move into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a board member so requests, in which case you may remove the consent agenda item and it will be considered at the end of your consent agenda. Do you have any items you'd like to remove this evening? If not, some direction on our consent agenda, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of a consent agenda as is.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Tabelli,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, action agenda item E, resolution 24R08. Zach, please. Sorry, we just hustled right through that. You need a minute?
You okay? Yeah.
You just fell out of your chair.
First, down advances.
This one right here in the middle.
Yep. We're doing. Does this work too?
No.
Nope. Okay, I go back. All right. F5. Okay, we're gonna try the button here. All right. Let me start from scratch here.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Zach Robertson. I'm with the engineering department, the stormwater engineer. I'm here before you to present a action before you, the Firestone Trail drainage easement before you tonight. So thank you, Board of Trustees, for taking the time to go over this with me tonight, and of course, Madam Mayor, and the general public as well. They're the people actually in charge. So strategic plan. So this line is actually very much in line with our strategic plan. Specifically, infrastructure is a component that I'm dealing with. This easement will bolster our drainage infrastructure with that, allowing our drainage to pass through our town safely. So that is the goal of this easement as we move forward. So vicinity map, where are we talking about? When you're traveling around Colorado Boulevard and you're heading northbound into Firestone, there's a little trail, bridge trail there that you'll see a lot of people riding their bikes, such as myself, like to take. Quite fun. What we need to do is actually berm up that area and convey that stormwater towards Colorado Boulevard in that area. The reason we're doing that is we're already planning to put in box culverts for that area. And if we size the box culvert accordingly without berming it, the water would pass through and would still overtop Colorado Boulevard. So we need this easement to put in the berms, do the grading to convey the stormwater to our infrastructure to keep the floodwaters moving in a safe manner. The request. So Frederick Engineering staff, as I mentioned, is requesting an easement over the Firestone Trail. This is a detailed engineering drawing. It gets probably a little too technical for this presentation, but I thought it was fun to say, hey, we're done with our design. That was completed at the end of December. We're moving forward, and hopefully I'll be going to construction here shortly. And this is one of our plans that we have. if you're interested or any members of the general public, the bid is still out right now. So these plans are available on our website right now. Some relevant information, as I previously mentioned, we were done at the end of 2023. AVI completed it. The town of Frederick, we've already encumbered funds to move forward with this project. The RFP was out in January, and I anticipate being back before the board and the end of March for hopefully award of contract. So hopefully I'll have a good contractor who has the qualifications that we need to move forward and within budget that we have. One item to note, the town of Firestone is a partner for the regional drainage improvement, and specifically the area in this easement. The RFP plans has about 3 different drainage improvements, but this area where the drainage easement is, they'll be partnering with that. And I believe they'll be partnering financially as well. So that's really nice to have them move forward with that. Frederick, one caveat, and the reason I need to bring this before you is very important. Frederick will be responsible for maintaining our drainage improvements across Firestone's property. So this is why the drainage easement is really important, because it allows us the access to go in and maintain our infrastructure, which is beneficial to maintaining the flood conveyance through Frederick. So I have a couple action items for you tonight. One, we could proceed with the easement, which I'm all for that, please, with my staff recommendation on number 1, as that would give me the ability to take the easement to Firestone, hopefully your execution. 2, second option, we could deny the easement, meaning that we would not want to move forward with this. One component, without these improvements, we would have to redesign how we convey the stormwater, and this could leave Colorado Boulevard vulnerable for future flooding events. And with that, I will pass the recommended motions or any questions to the board at this time.
Where exactly is this improvement? It's south of Pinecone and Bella Rosa.
This is directly adjacent between our golf course and Saddleback, and there's actually a footbridge that goes up and down, and it's right there on that footbridge.
East side of Colorado.
Yeah, the east side. I'm gonna see if I can go back to the. Oh, sorry. What am I doing here?
All right, I think I know where it's at.
On the trail.
Did I?
Fringe trail.
Is it close to the
Oh,
property that
there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
There it is.
I have the vicinity map up again, if that helps. You have. Do you know where the old the sanitation district was? So you have Dairy Queen, go north a little bit, and there's that big open area,
Yeah,
the swamps.
is that Saddleback Golf Course?
Yep, Saddleback Golf Course is just adjacent to it. They have a little triangle piece, and then they go up that road, and it goes onto their property.
Okay, thank you.
I'm giggling because I didn't know that we had swamps. That's funny. It's really funny.
Cattails?
Yeah, that's swamp-ish.
Call it a wetland.
I think that's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
It,
Enjoy that.
Inundated groundwater.
inundated groundwater, bird habitat. Well, yes, vocabulary is important. Thank you, Myers.
Zach, you used the term hopefully the town of Firestone will be supportive of this. Do you see any reason that there'd be vulnerability in their position on this?
No, not at all. It's just I would have to go before their board again, and being an engineer, it's not done until it's done. That's kind of how our mindset works. So their town engineer, Matt Widerspan, was very supportive of this. We actually it was approved by legal on both sides prior, so I don't anticipate any issues with this moving forward.
Thank you. Any other questions for Zach? All right. If not, you have some motions available to you for consideration.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of Resolution 2024 R08 regarding the town of Firestone easement be approved and to direct the town attorney to memorialize this approval as a resolution for prompt execution by Mayor Kreitz without further action of the board.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Okay.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us know if you need someone to go with you.
All right.
Heard that. All right, action item F, resolution 24R09. Anthony.
Evening. So I actually have the youth commissioners here, so they will be the ones who's presenting this, but I wanted to come up here and thank you for the time. So if you guys want to come up, they'll introduce themselves and what their titles are on the commission itself, and then they'll go through the presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, my name is Peyton Siders, and I am the secretary on the commission.
Madam Mayor, I am Commissioner Annie.
I am Deputy Secretary Nora Dukart.
Going down will make it go through the slides. If you need to go back a slide, you can click up.
Am I already confused?
Down.
Oh, that's why.
It's all good.
We've understood.
You can skip through that if you want to.
Yeah, I was like-
That's fine. Yeah, no worries. We know why you're here.
Our purpose is to request that you guys adopt our resolution to authorize our bylaws of the Town of Frederick Youth Commission. Our bylaws were unanimously passed at our last meeting yesterday on the 12th of February. So the purpose of our commission is to help integrate the youth in our community into the policies and development of our area. We are here to help encourage and enable the youth to be involved more. And we will do this through studying, investigating, and really just kind of gaining information about the youth and the implementation of such things that we can help include the youth. Our mission is to foster an inclusive community in the area through the youth and making sure that they are included and creating opportunities so that they can grow and become the citizens that we need them to be. So the key takeaways of our bylaws include the membership, in which we went through an application and interview process. The commission consists of up to 21 members, voting members with eligibility criteria, including being between the grades 8 and 12, and then having the vested interest in Frederick. We have a leadership structure, being that we have 6 executive officers, a chairperson, the vice chairperson, the secretary, the deputy secretary, public relations, and the membership liaison. And meetings we have on a monthly basis, and we do have the provision for special meetings if the need arises. And the quorum is also necessary, a simple majority of vote. We keep meeting minutes, and those are kept and available to all members. And then we are expected to attend these meetings. Who would have thought? You guys want to talk?
I mean, I can go.
Do you want to
If
talk?
you don't want to.
It's up to you guys.
Sure, I'll take
Cool.
a small shot at this.
Annie,
you can
you
hold
got
that.
Okay.
Okay, so our decision-making process, we decide by a majority of our vote, with the chairperson, having a tiebreaker just like the mayor does. Let's see. With our committees and working groups, we have advisory roles to various committees such as art, historic preservation, and different community events. Bylaw amendments. Any member can oppose amendments which undergo review and approval processes. And again, we typically need a lot of people to vote so we can make sure it works with everyone. Non-discrimination clause, we are committed to I can't say that word, inclusivity, and prohibits discrimination based on different things so we can provide equal opportunities to everyone.
Are there any questions? Wonderful.
Sounds like you all had an active role in your bylaws. You had discussions on what they mean to you and your team. Yeah, you're comfortable with your bylaws.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Is the commission full yet? I don't think so. Yeah. Do you have an update?
People?
9.
Currently,
and
it is not
members.
up to full
And-
capacity.
Not even close.
Y'all to recruit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, I think tonight is a great step, in the protocol of your bylaws, just to help, not necessarily keep you all accountable, but to help this board and staff keep us accountable to support you and your very important youth voice. So I commend you for participating in these inaugural bylaws for the Youth Commission in the town of Frederick. Very important work. So thank you.
Thank you.
You did a nice job. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What would be the chance of getting a copy of their bylaws to all of the board?
Have them in there. Yeah, they're in your packet.
Oh, they are in the packet?
Yeah.
I must have skipped over. I'm
You're
sorry.
fine. No, you're fine. Great. No other questions? We'll take some direction, but I also will mention as part of this item, a few of you spoke when Dr. Haddad was here a few weeks ago, and he did invite myself to participate on the task force for not only the new Frederick High School, but just to understand the Frederick voice and representation. So I wanted to extend my phone number so that if you ever have concerns or if you have classmates who have concerns and you want to reach their administration, I would like for you to reach out to me so I can share those with them as often as possible. Wonderful. I'll leave that with Anthony, and then you all can discuss amongst yourself what that looks like. But you have an important voice, so I encourage you to use it. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. All right, some direction on item F, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of resolution number 24R09, a resolution of the Board of Trustees approving the Town of Frederick Youth Commission bylaws governing the operations of the commission.
Second. Motion and a second. No further discussion?
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. Peyton, you were wonderful in a chorus line, by the way. Thank you very much. All right, item G. Resolution 24R10. Christine. Or Jason.
So Christine and I probably actually sound very similar right now. She may or may not be listening, so hopefully she got a chuckle out of that. So I'm pinch hitting. This project started quite a while ago, and we'll go over first the kind of the strategic plan amendment or alignment in terms of effective, efficient strategic government operations, and also community and economic vitality, which the Planning Commission serves a very important role in that process. Rewinding, as you recall, we're here tonight. We're here to adopt a resolution approving the bylaws that were created by the Planning Commission. If you recall, rewinding a couple years back, I was directed as the town attorney to update the ordinances so that we could provide an additional process to create the youth commission, or to create the structure for all of these commissions, committees, and boards to have bylaws and things, as you saw with the youth commission and you saw with the Prost Commission a few months back. With that ordinance change was the mandate from the board to go ahead and create bylaws. So that process, we had Christine, who was at the time our outside counsel, one of our outside counsel for land use, kind of took the lead on that because she worked with that group a bunch. So in that process, they pulled a lot of different bylaws and ordinance or structures for how planning commissions are run from several different communities. Unlike some of our other boards, committees, and commissions, the planning commission has a real impact on potential property rights, and so we wanted to make sure it's probably far more robust than what you'll see in a lot of our other groups. And there's an intention behind that because we're dealing with state statutes that interact with local ordinances and also property rights that are involved with individuals who have items that are brought before that commission. So those bylaws, I reviewed them as a part of that process as well, but ultimately Christine did the bulk of that work. When she did that, they were adopted by the Planning Commission back in May, but we didn't make it aware. I didn't do the part of making sure they were aware those had to come before the board. And so once that was caught, we wanted to make sure we brought them per the requirements of the ordinance before you all to make sure that they were adopted officially with any comments or changes that you might see. They have been in operation since May, and we haven't had any additional changes or thoughts or issues come up with the bylaws as they're currently constituted in terms of needing additional changes or amendments at this point. So we've had a little bit of a trial run, and I believe they've been working well. I do also want to point out we do have a couple of our commissioners here this evening if you have any questions for them or compliments. They've done a lot of hard work on this as well. All right, so generally speaking, as you've seen in your packet, the bylaws cover kind of the election of officers, which happens on an annual basis, the regular and special meeting processes and procedures in place, the preliminary or parliamentary procedure in terms of how a motion is made, what's required. There's different categories of things. And then also, unlike some of our other boards, committees, and commissions, kind of some parameters around calling an executive session. Again, going back to that reality of dealing with property rights, we do have either myself or Christine will be present at all of the planning commission meetings moving forward. So if there's a need for legal advice, they can ask for an executive session and have that legal advice on the fly in an appropriate fashion. So that's generally what covers in the bylaws. And that's it. Unless you want to hear from the youth commissioners again. I'm just kidding. Are there any questions or comments?
Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Well, since we have two members here, I just want to say thank you for all of your service and all the hours of work and what you do on behalf of Frederick. So just appreciate you guys.
Trustee Mahan has a question for you.
So under meetings, meetings may be held the first and or third Thursday of each month. Yada yada yada. There's not always something to be talked about, right? Are they meeting every month just for the sake of meeting, or are we?
If you recall, we had this discussion back in 2022 when we were passing the ordinance originally. As a part of the municipal code, the planning commission is required to meet on a monthly basis. So we've taken the opportunity to, and Allie can attest, as some of our planning commissioners can attest, taking that opportunity to provide updates and training as appropriate. And we've been working on comprehensive plans. So there's been things to fill it, but it's not to say that it hasn't been difficult sometimes to find things to talk about on those months. And I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. We just had the agenda at one of them. That was it.
Right. Okay. So if there's an interest by the board to alleviate that, we can certainly change the municipal code to effectuate that they don't have to meet every month. But that's currently the way that the law is written. But we can change that at your behest. I think there's some on planning commission that would appreciate that latitude and opportunity, but certainly it's your discretion as the board.
No. Chairperson Moe or Commissioner Conroy, do you have anything to add? No.
I'm perfectly fine with meeting once a month. I think it's good to connect and just be able to speak to things and keep things moving forward. Certainly we had meetings from the last, minutes from the last meeting that we need to always approve and move forward. It is good to know what topics are coming forth and things that we can, continue to work on. So I'm not opposed to still keeping it as it is written today.
Yeah, I would second that. I think for the most part, everybody comes up with something very educational for us to, listen to, talk about, and discuss. So for the most part, the one meeting
works out really well.
Thank you. Maybe if it turns out to where later in the year you're feeling otherwise, let us know.
Yeah, I would say if it just becomes more of a hindrance or burden on the staff, and if you're finding that it's not worth their time, maybe then you might want to consider it. I don't know.
Okay, you'll let us know.
All right. Here's your options this evening. You can move forward with approval. You can make amendments to the bylaws if you'd like. I suppose what I would recommend in that regard would be to give us your feedback. We can incorporate those changes and bring it back again rather than trying to amend things on the fly. But certainly you have that prerogative if you'd like to, or you can move to deny and we can send it back to the Planning Commission with some feedback on what you'd like to see different.
There are no further questions. Some direction on resolution 24R10 would be great, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of resolution number 24R10, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Frederick approving bylaws governing the operations of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee DeVelli,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Christine. That was so nice. Okay, we have a discussion agenda item. Ryan, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I wanted to take this opportunity. I think about this time last year, we were starting to provide more content in the way of legislative updates at the direction of the board to be more aware and involved and have a seat at the table with some of the sometimes quickly evolving landscape down at the legislature, among other things. I know last year we saw a couple of bills that gained a lot of attention, not just in Frederick, but throughout the entire metro area and throughout Colorado, particularly as it related to land use. One of the things that is a practical difficulty with a staff like ours, the way we're set up is we don't have somebody at the Capitol every day. So as these things are kind of moving very, very quickly, again, pointing to a land use bill last year, it moved at a rate that I've probably not seen in my career. One of the things that we explored this year was partnering with a group that could help advocate on behalf of Frederick and Frederick's positions on various matters. And so Mr. Osler and I actually engaged a group that we had interacted with through different circles in previous organizations and through different groups that we've been a part of. And so I think Mr. Osler is actually connected with the board individually to be able to kind of do a little bit of a primer coming into tonight. So this evening, we wanted to introduce you to Mr. Ed Bowditch and Jennifer Castle. To be able to talk to you about some of the things that that I think they understand as priorities for Frederick because they are truly down there at the Capitol literally every day, representing communities, various communities, and other organizations that you might have a particular interest in wanting to advocate with, or in some cases maybe against. And so Brian and I met earlier with them to kind of prep them. I think we did an okay job of giving them an idea of the topics that are on the top of your minds. But please take the opportunity. I think they're going to introduce themselves a little bit and kind of who they work with. But I think after that, we'd love to have a listening session to make sure that they've heard from you the things that are important. And it isn't just limited to this legislative session, which is kind of internal to the state of Colorado. If there are other items related to transportation initiatives with CDOT or even federal initiatives, those are things that are important that we want to make sure we're capturing that information. I'll be taking notes, as I'm sure Brian will as well, and to make sure we're capturing all of that feedback coming out of this. And then, of course, we want to have this be like an ongoing dialogue. I think we've talked about it with the team about having them come on some frequency so that way you're getting updates of things that are happening. You know, when you have a legislature that sees 500 or 600 bills in a session, a good chunk of those are not ones that impact Frederick directly. It's the chunk that impacts us to a great degree that we really want to pay attention to. And then there's always some fun and games thrown in there, like the electric fence bill, which stems from actually an action this board took last year, which has been introduced at the state level. So um, we might be famous. Who knows?
I'm very proud of that action, by the way.
Yeah, I've already told Autumn Gonzalez, the planner who brought that item before y'all last year, if this thing passes, we're going to name that after him. And he's just waiting. So with that, I'll have Mr. Ed and Bowditch and Jennifer Castle come on up, and they can go ahead and take the floor.
And Mayor
Thank you.
and members of the board, I just want to reiterate, this will be one of many opportunities where we'll have them here where we can have extended conversations about your legislative priorities. So we don't have to accomplish it all tonight. We wanted to make the introduction and get some initial thoughts, and we'll be back.
Okay. Thank you. Hi.
Good evening.
Hi.
You ready for us?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Ed Bowditch, and Jennifer, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. So I've been a lobbyist for 15 years, worked for the legislature for 15 years prior to that. I started working at the Capitol in 1987 for what I thought was a brief period of time and find myself still down there. But most of what we work on is representing local governments, human services, nonprofits, and a lot of educational entities.
Thank you. Appreciate it. My name is Jennifer Castle. I came out to Colorado in 2003 to be a ski bum and stayed. But I've been down at the Capitol since 2007 in a variety of capacities. I started off as a legislative aide, and then I was a legislative staffer for Governor Hickenlooper, and then became one of his legislative liaisons for 2 of his state departments before I joined ED officially in 2013. So I guess I'll be going into my 11th year lobbying down at the Capitol. As Ed mentioned, he did mention some of our clients. We do work with a lot of local governments. We work with Arvada, Fort Collins, North Glen, City of Aspen. We also represent DRCOG, and then the Economic Development Council of Colorado and the elected county assessors, just to name a few. So certainly we do have a lot of local government expertise and experience as well. So to talk a little bit about the legislative session as a whole, so it's day 35, and we do count. There are 120 days that the legislature can go. That's in the Constitution, and the legislature usually does go the full 120 days. So we do like to count down. It is an election year, so that really kind of sets the whole tone and tenure of what the session is going to be like. Certainly very political. We're going to see a lot of messaging bills. Just so legislators get each other on the record voting for or against certain bills, just so they can, carry more weight with the elections that are coming up. It is going to be a tight budget year. COVID dollars have run out. While the economy is growing, it's slowing down. So there's not much money that the legislature has to spend, or not much discretionary money that the legislature has to spend. So that is going to make it quite difficult to fund a lot of priorities down at the Capitol. So that's kind of just a general overview. Some of the big issues, we'll talk specific about some of the issues that are of importance to Frederick, but some of the main issues that we're seeing, Ryan did mention the big land use bill from last year, the governor's land use bill. So land use and affordable housing. You have heard probably every legislator before the session started mention affordable housing as one of their top priorities. They're hearing it from their constituents, and so it's certainly top of mind for them. We do know that the governor is bringing back some of his items from the land use bill last year. He is going to be introducing 3 main bills, and I believe only one of them has been introduced so far. I think we're probably waiting until the end of this week, maybe early next week, until we get the other 2. There's going to be the ADU bill is one that's already introduced that requires ADUs in certain municipalities that have over 1,000 people in population and that are located within an MPO. There's going to be a transit-oriented community.
Spell out MPO.
Spell it MPO?
Oh,
Metropolitan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Metropolitan Planning Organization. Thank you. The second bill, it's the TOC bill, which stands for Transit-Oriented Communities. They just said today they're going to shorten it to just transit communities. So maybe it's the TC bill. I don't quite know, but that one is focused around building more density around transit corridors. And that will also apply to cities or municipalities with over 1,000 population, also located within an MPO as well. And then the third bill is a strategic growth bill. A lot of this bill is coming from CML. It's around building housing assessment needs, so that every community has an assessment need report plan every 6 years. So we're still waiting for those two bills to be introduced. So that's, and I imagine we're going to see more bills as it relates to affordable housing, attainable housing for the state.
Some of the other major policy areas that the legislature will at least consider this year have to do with property taxes. As you know, there was the special legislative session back in November. The changes that were adopted applied to the 2023 tax rates only, not any longer term changes. So there is a property tax commission that's meeting. They are supposed to be finished with their recommendations in 1 month. So the second half of the session, we will see more of those property tax policy changes. There are also going to be ballot measures. One has been certified to be on the ballot in November, and there are likely others that will be considered for the ballot in November. So property taxes, there's something we follow very closely, representing the elected county assessors. Everyone almost wants the assessor input. There's also a number of bills on kind of what I call open government. There's a bill that will be introduced that will have some modifications to the Open Records Act. That always draws a lot of attention from the cities, counties, special districts, and school districts. And then there is a bill that has been introduced, House Bill 1168, dealing with the Open Meetings Act, and would require live streaming of every board meeting for every public body, as well as every sort of work session of every public body. Whenever there is a quorum or whenever there is an open meetings requirement, that would have to be live streamed. That one has not had its first hearing yet. So again, just some of the major issue areas that the legislature will debate this year.
Yep. And then some Frederick specific issues, some bills that we've seen that have been introduced, but also some bills that we know maybe are on the horizon. But certainly local control is going to be an issue. Where we've already seen a handful of bills that have been introduced on local control. As Ryan mentioned, the fences bill has been introduced. It has not been calendared as of yet, but we are tracking that one closely. There's a bill that would remove all parking restrictions and requirements that any town would have. It would require a town to adopt, there's another bill, to require towns to adopt building codes for a single stairwell in any new development, any new housing development. If it's 5 stories or less, they can only have one stairwell. There's also a bill that would require expedited permitting processes for electric vehicle stations. So quite a lot of bills that are already out there that would require local governments to do something or mandate that local governments do something. Transportation, of course, is always of importance, we're along a major corridor, state highway, federal highway, etc. There is no funding, though, to really do much with transportation. That's kind of the issue there. There is certainly more of a focus on transit, on trying to promote more transit in the state. Oil and gas. We just saw a bill that was introduced today. You may have heard about it. It has certainly hit the news. No new permits will be issued after 2030. Otherwise, there's going to be some air quality measures that are introduced that almost always affects the oil and gas industry as well too. I imagine there's going to be various other bills that will impact the city. There always are. You never know when something's going to have an impact until a bill is introduced and then everyone comes out of the woodwork. But certainly we'll be following and tracking those issues. And then happy to have a conversation and listen and take questions as well too.
And take notes.
Take notes.
I got one for you. I read a little bit about, not in depth too much about some of the stuff that they're looking at working on. One of them was a bill to adjust the ADA requirements that are going to be out there. How much do you know about that?
The ADA requirements, there are a couple of bills that have come up this year, and not all of them have been introduced yet. I know in the human services arena, there has been some discussions about ADA requirements. There was also a bill from 2021 session, House Bill 1110, that requires accessibility for online documents. So any city, county, special district needs to make sure all of its documents that are online, even if they're archived back to land plots from 100 years ago, need to be in an accessible format. There's been some rulemaking that's upcoming on that issue. I don't know if that's what you were hearing about.
Yeah, that was part of what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mayor Pro Tem, if I could, I believe, I don't know if it's been introduced or if it's still in the process. I think there was a kind of an ADA related bill regarding candidacy for
Yes.
political offices that was either dropped yesterday or today or relatively soon in terms of ensuring the ongoing opportunity to be involved in a caucus as opposed to petitioner signatures for candidates. I don't know if that's even applicable to local jurisdictions or if it's purely at a state level. I didn't have a chance to look at it that in depth.
Yeah.
That one's going to.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Forgot it. That was one of the big ones, yeah. Okay. That's all I have.
I feel like you covered all the things that keep me up at night already. So thanks for that. I find it fascinating, and not that I need to say this to you all. So I'm sure you have similar sentiments, but I find it just so interesting that so much of it seems like a front and a facade for visual representation of representatives to look like they're supporting something or not, and in so many ways it affects so many of our quality of life and our safety, and I find that sad that that's the cause of many bills. But I also find it very fascinating that we continue to talk about strategic growth plans and municipal or local control, and I would like to call it just local responsibility rather than control. I mean, we all are doing that, from my understanding, very well. In the town of Frederick, we're working on comprehensive plans and land use updates and trying to accommodate growth the best that we can. And we continue to tell the state and our legislators and representatives, like, we are trying to grow with the demand as fast as we can at the respect and responsibility of our current citizens. But how else can we advocate to the state that we are doing a good job of representing our community without being told how to do things from their perspective? Because I would argue they don't know better than we do. And it continues to be frustrating to hear that they think that they do.
That is an excellent point. And not to get too far afield in my answer, but CCI and CML and the School Board Association used to have a lot more authority and clout down there. Legislators used to listen to their local elected officials. Not as much anymore. Those organizations play a lot of defense and play a lot of trying to amend bills to make them more livable for the communities. And there are many, many more advocacy organizations that are down there all the time. So it's always a battle. It's great the more you can connect with your local legislators and your regional legislators, have them to your meetings here. We always encourage everybody that we work with to try and come to the Capitol once during the session, set up a lunch. It means a lot when the legislators see their local folks. I know it's not always convenient for everybody to drop what they're doing and come down, and we pick a date and it always snows and all of that. But it means a lot. It shows them that you're really watching them and you really care.
Nice, thank you. Any items that matter to you all are part of our strategic plans or discussions that did not come up today in a legislative update?
I think what I think about is, at the end of the session, there's going to be a list of bills that affect Frederick, and there's going to be potentially resources that Frederick needs to start thinking about either, in the budget cycle or whatever, if now the bill passes to live stream all work sessions, that's going to be an impact fiscally for, you know, the staff or, equipment, or maybe it's not, maybe we just can absorb it. But I think that I really appreciate our relationship with you both, so that we have more of a voice. And then that's what keeps me up at night is, the 10 or 15 bills that pass, then now we have to allow electric fences for everybody who wants electric fences. But having a roll up of that to see what do we have to implement right away, what are the resources and staffing or budget that we're going to need, and what do we have to kind of be aware of to plan for, is going to be a really important thing, I think, for us to talk about in May or June.
And one of the things we always advise is that we try and focus on the bills that really will have an impact on you. We don't want to send you a bill report with 300 bills, but we want to find the top 10 or 15 that will really impact you in a positive or potentially not negative, but something that will require resources, or something that is negative. So, yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I think, categorically land use, I don't think there's such thing as affordable housing. We call it attainable housing.
Attainable.
Yeah. That's a comical term to me. Oil and gas continues to be contentious and dangerous in the town of Frederick, so appreciate updates on that. Local control, I think, will continue to be a stressor for us. I don't know that. And property tax, absolutely. So, I mean, there's nothing in, that's not valuable on everything you've just mentioned, but appreciate that you're willing to hear from our perspective what matters to us in Frederick, and help us understand how these bills will affect us, or how we can get involved in lobbying, pro or con, for those. We're all ears, because we do want to be more involved, and we do want to make sure that our community's voice is strong and supported, and that the outcome fits their expectations. So please call a meeting anytime you'd like to with us, because we're all ears and would love to help.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And I will also note too, we do attend there's biweekly, CML hosts their municipal caucus. We do attend those and take notes. So we're certainly aware of all of the issues that affect municipalities, and there's quite a few.
And that's very helpful, because there may be an issue that we don't necessarily think of, but the CML staff is really on it, and we share notes on it. We talk to them every day, all their lobbyists. They're good people.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah.
They were instrumental in the land use
Yes.
bill. Yeah. So, and so was our team. They were fantastic. So appreciate that. Okay. Yeah.
I just thought of something like, is there anything, are you aware of anything out there that is going to be tried, or they're going to try to get it through to require, well, we all know that the Denver is a sanctuary city, all right? That's a Denver issue. Is there anything out there from the state that's going to try to force other communities to take the overflow of the immigrants from the sanctuary city? From the state level, are they going to try to step in there and try to force the rest of the communities and the other communities to do that you are aware of?
I am not aware of any of those sorts of discussions. There are issues, for example, Denver Public Schools has enrolled, I think, between 1,500 and 2,000 students since the count date in October. And so there's no funding for those students in the current formula. Is there a state role in trying to provide some funding, not just for Denver, but for Aurora or Glenwood Springs, where there have been an increase on a per capita basis of about the same amount? Those sorts of issues, but there's nothing about kind of forced relocation or forced acceptance of anybody that I'm aware of.
I was asked that, and I didn't know anything about it because I hadn't heard anything. So, okay.
It might come. I mean, the mayor of Denver just announced budget cuts for CDOT and Parks and Recreation to reallocate funds for the unhoused. So perhaps that's something you could let us know if they're discussing at some point.
That is an emerging issue.
I believe that. Yeah. Okay.
This is great. I mean,
Yeah.
this is wonderful. Tracy and I have been a part of the government here in Frederick for 6 years, and this is wonderful to have this kind of opportunity to learn things and to keep on track of stuff. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Yes.
we're excited to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm encouraged.
We're happy to leave the Capitol whenever.
Yeah. Welcome to Frederick. It's
There.
much happier here. No, just kidding. I appreciate Ryan's recommendation to keep it as an ongoing discussion and conversation. Please consider our support for that. Would love more updates as you see fit. And any opportunity you see that we can get involved and help, just again, please let us know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thanks, Ryan.
Electric fence. Okay, we have trustee reports. Next, anybody have any trustee reports to share?
I only had one thing. On Brian's administrative report, I noticed that our Chief Norris was reappointed to the Weld County 911 Authority Board, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I also noticed that we had two of our officers, Sergeant Herbert and Officer Farson, that attended the Northern Colorado Police Job Fair, and Chief Norris's attempt to fill the positions he's trying to fill, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We've got people down there trying to mix it up and get some good candidates, so please pass that on to Chief Norris. That's all I have.
That's good. That's great. Those are good things.
I don't have anything. I think Brian covered what I was gonna cover with the Carbon Valley Rec District.
Okay. Well, continue that conversation. I mean, you have every right to have an opinion and a seat at the table with the rec district. I mean, you represent the town of Frederick, so as a collected voice, continue to share. I implore you all to do that. Anything over here?
Good.
May I borrow Renee? Would you mind joining us at the podium for a minute? Please? Thank you. I wanted to just congratulate Renee and her team on our inaugural annual report. So I wondered if you wouldn't mind just sharing kind of the journey that you had for this report, the intent, the goal you have for this report, how we can be supportive of making sure the town of Frederick sees all these great new opportunities in our town.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about the annual report. Our team just thought it was a really good way to highlight all of the good work that was going on throughout the departments, throughout the town. And so we really wanted to relate it to the strategic plan, because these things don't just happen by mistake. There's a very well thought out plan that, you know, we basically base on community feedback. So we really wanted to put together a report that would serve as a repository and a collection of all the things that the board initiated, supported, and then staff carried out for 2023. So it's just an opportunity to again highlight and congratulate, and as a internal and our community a celebration. So we plan to produce an annual report every year and just keep sharing with our community and celebrating with our community all the successes we've had. So
thank you. Well, I think it's beautiful. Right. Truly, it's beautiful and amazing to look back and say, you know, all this was accomplished in just 1 year. And I really, you know, commend you and your team for continuing the guiding light of community feedback. And that's very evident in this, and that you just want to be transparent and continue the conversation with our community. It's very clear to me that you wanted to highlight that in this annual report, and I love it. And I want to frame it, and I might cry about it. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other items? Trustee reports, staff reports of any kind? To go? Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to recommend a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 246402 4E1 regarding floodplain and stormwater issues.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee DeValley?
Yes.
Trustee Mahan?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's take a 10-minute recess, reconvene at 8:15, please. 9-minute recess.